ReZero, Side Story, Isekai Quartet Special, Another World, Another Episode, Chapter 1.
When I woke up, I found myself in the middle of a barren wasteland. Man, I really am in a fix. What's this all about? I frantically looked around the room, trying to grasp the situation I was in the best I could. I may not look it, but I've been through tons of hellish experiences, the likes of which ordinary people wouldn't be able to go through. I've been chased by a dragon, swallowed up by a flood, asked to siege a fort run by a tribe of savages alone without causing any bloodshed, quite unreasonably might I add, and I've even flitted between life and death for 3 days and nights due to some strange illness. From all of these experiences I've had while traveling, I may have found 1 or 2 ways to deal with situations such as these. That's what I thought, but nothing's coming to mind. I'm sure there must have been signs back when Reed-kun and Farsail-kun took me to the great waterfall in the dead of night, or when Echidna-kun accidentally blew up a forest with her magic. Whenever I recall all the pleasant faces of the people I traveled with, comparing them with the experiences I've accumulated so far, the fact I've managed to make it this long without dying genuinely impresses me. Of course, when it came to that, it had been those with some sense about them who would shoulder his hardships. In any case, last night was going to be the first time in a while where we'd have stayed at a town inn, rather than camp outdoors. It's not unusual for us to camp outdoors while on long journeys. That said, I've got a bad leg and use a cane, so it's always been a concern of mine that I'd end up putting too much of a burden on my fellow companions. Well, some of these kids would come kick my back whenever I lagged behind, not showing me an ounce of mercy. The fact remained though, every part of my body was groaning in complaint, never mind my mental state. After all, compared to the other kids, who were full of youth, I'm a middle-aged geezer who's been getting on in years. That's why it should have just been me calling it an early night after doing that massage stuff I'd learnt from Flugel-kun, that way I'd be able to give my body a proper rest in preparation for the long journey. And yet, looks like I woke up to find myself alone in this strange place. In the past, Flugel-kun told me he went through something similar, and now I feel bad for not taking him seriously. Scratching my cheek, I looked around the area, attempting to gather information. At the very least, it didn't look like I was going to be woken up from this weirdly realistic dream. Thus, what I needed to do was discard the preconception that this was a dream or illusion, and instead, seriously come up with a plan for later. I need to try and find a way to not die in this parched wasteland with nothing in it. I need to find a way to live. How did a mere hermit grow to be so bold? If not for Satella-kun finding me, I would have probably died like a wretch. Apparently, it looks like I don't want to die. Luckily, when I was thrown right into the middle of this wasteland, I had all my provisions on hand. I've got food, my water flask, and my jacket packed in my knapsack. What comes most handy is the fact that I've got my cane on me. Without it, I'd end up having difficulties walking properly, plus, who knows what Farsail-kun would yell if I told him I lost it. If I were asked to reimburse it, my debt would start getting to the point where you wouldn't be able to document it. Still, at least with the debt I owe, I don't mind if the amount balloons up, so long as I can meet them again. I'd probably get laughed at if I said something like they're priceless to me, but before I even realized, they'd become something like that to me. Going by the rules of thumb I'd built up so far, it probably wasn't just me stuck in a strange situation like this. Perhaps, all of my companions were going through the same experience too. In that case, since I'm the second most likely to die among my circle, Satella-kun, earnest as she is, probably is searching for me with all her might. If she lost sight of Satella-kun, Echidna-kun would probably get frantic as well. As for Reed-kun, seeing him whenever he could, should be fine. He probably wasn't going to die anyways. Also, with Farsail-kun, he too had the sort of disposition where he could get on with things regardless of where he was, so no worries there. Guess the issue is with Flugel-kun, he feels like he'd die more easily than me. Flugel-kun, strangely unreliable as he is, was more likely to drag himself into danger, even more so than myself with my bad leg. There have been many times where he's jumped into danger all on his own. In some aspects, he's been reaping what he's sown, yet even then, I was worried enough to think about his safeguarding. Anyways, that's that. My goal now is to link back up with my companions, and then, I've got to find out where I am, and what I need to do to get back to where I was. Just to put it out there, our journey is one of great importance to us. I myself don't really want to flaunt it everywhere and exaggerate it, but apparently this journey thing of ours is quite the grand undertaking. After all, it's a journey to save the world.
Chapter 2.
I'm rather pessimistic, if I do say so myself. Reed-kun just laughs me off as a warrior and coward, but unless I think about all the variables, I can't act immediately when responding to situations. I also think the fact I have a bad leg adds to my pessimistic nature. Even when things are good, I'm not the quickest person in the world, so it's not like I am going to survive if I'm slow whenever something happens. Not to mention, there's no way I'm going to drag my comrades into it. Thus, even in this situation where I was thrown into a desolate wasteland, I quickly let go of any optimism and took my own measures to deal with the pessimistic circumstances I was put in. I have no idea how many days it will take for me to meet back up with my lost companions. Securing food and water is my top priority. The stuff I already have in my knapsack is by no means enough. It'll get me through my first bouts of hunger, but I only have enough such that I'll completely run out in no time. Even so, I guess I should say I'm plenty fortunate. If not for these provisions, it wouldn't take long before I'd be joining the tumbleweeds in this wasteland. I may not be like Farsail-kun, who lives it posh, but I'd like to voice a few complaints as well, such as the fact that, being able to put off my destiny in becoming one with the tumbleweeds for a few days, isn't at all very joyful in taking pride in myself for being lucky. It's been 2 weeks already. I brushed my hand against my now unkempt beard, muttering those words in dejection. It's been 2 weeks since I had been thrown into this wasteland and began walking, believing that I'd meet back up with my companions, and even now, I still haven't met a single soul, never mind any of them. I was all alone. I managed to find a source of water, and now I was looking for human habitation upstream by the river. Still, my search was being delayed by how unfamiliar I was with the environment and my loneliness, thus I hadn't made much distance. I could stave off my hunger by eating the wild plants growing along the riverside. However, setting up base by the riverside, unable to ensure my personal safety, was dangerous, as there existed the possibility of coming across large animals. Things are rough. I let some of my feelings slip as I felt my mental state slowly eroding away. However, there was no one around to hear my lonely monologue, not to mention, it felt like the words I'd uttered remained at my feet, as if even the parched wind found it too bothersome to sweep them away. I still didn't realize it, but apparently I had a nature of wanting to seek the company of others. Once upon a time, I'd acted like a hermit, so because of that, I had no idea how much I couldn't see about myself. No, I knew I couldn't live by myself, and so, I tried to commit suicide once. But then, I was saved by a gentle hand. Someone wanted me, I was pulled in by that hand. I suppose I was just trying to fulfill my duty, and as for how I originally was, well, I suppose I wasn't actively living, dying, or taking life seriously enough. I could hear the footsteps of my original nature slowly creeping up on me. Man, everyone would probably get mad at me if they knew I was thinking this stuff. As I muttered, my parched lips broke into a slight smile. I pictured Satella-kun, angry, with tears in her eyes, as well as Flugel-kun, red in the face, indignant. Reed-kun and Echidna-kun would probably act fed up and disinterested. As for Farsail-kun, he knows the least of what it feels like to be lonely, so I guess he wouldn't be able to empathize with how I am right now. I was surprised, amazed at the fact that I could still laugh when I thought about everyone. I miss everyone. It's only been 2 weeks, but I've become so weak. I miss everyone. I miss you all.
Chapter 3.
Time passed slowly, ever so cruelly without stopping. Before I knew it, I gave up keeping count of how many days I'd spent in this place. I just, without thinking about things too deeply, accepted the situation for what it was, and kept my legs moving to schedule, going through each day while trying to stop my spirit from petering out. I mustn't think about this. I mustn't think about this wasteland, nor of this world. This isn't the world I am acquainted with. This isn't the world I traveled through with my companions. That's why my companions will never be able to find me. I mustn't think about these things. I'm all alone. I haven't talked to anyone for such a long time. There's no sign of human life. I can't even see any animals. All this time, I've just been talking to the sky, water and flowers. I was fine with it back when I was a hermit. I was dead sure that I'd abandoned the world. But now I've been made to realize that the one who was abandoned by the world is me. I wonder what Satella-kun, Flugel-kun, Reed-kun, Echidna-kun and Farsail-kun are doing. I wonder if they are worried about me. I wonder if they're looking for me. I wonder if they are bothering to look for me. I miss everyone. I miss them. 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 Question mark. Suddenly, something snapped in my head. Trying not to think about it was no different from thinking about it when you are trying not to. I had no interest in these kinds of word games. Nevertheless, the unwardable feelings of loneliness and desolation kept swirling around my chest before finally exploding. Question mark. Gua. I clutched at my head, eyes wide open, and threw down my cane, sinking to my knees. The azure sky, ever unperturbed, looked down at me as I continued to walk alone. I despised it. I loathed the sky, thinking, why is it making me suffer like this? I'd let my true nature show. So when it came to my caliber, in the end, I guess this is all I had in me. By being by someone's side, by fulfilling a duty that was wished of me, I'd been able to accept myself. I'd been able to find definite proof that I could be here. People were mirrors for me, and mirrors served as indispensable signposts which shaped the being that is myself. But none of that was here. No mirrors, no one I could reflect myself in, no role for me to carry out. Question mark. Listen, Alex-san. Won't you try to live for our sake, instead of dying? Back then, I'd thrown myself into freezing cold water. But there'd been a girl there who'd spoken those words to me after she pulled me out. She was an audacious girl, she was pure and honest, and despite being burdened with a harsh fate, she didn't let it show. Thus, I was moved by her kindness, feeling like I needed to help her. All those good-hearted people who'd been made to feel that, were always by her side. As for me, well, I'm not a pure, good-hearted person, so I was just acting like this because that was what was wanted from me. Then, I guess that's it. I never thought I'd be dropping out halfway through like this, but our journey was drawing to an end. Even without me, the journey should turn out well. I guess they would be sad not having me around, and they'd miss me. Still, no matter how tough it will be, they will lift their heads up and begin to walk. Indeed, I can place my trust in my most precious comrades. That's why. Question mark. No sooner had that sense of resignation took over my heart, did the sky, which up until now had been silent, respond. To put it more accurately, a large shadow blocked out the repugnant sky that was looking down on me. This shadow now took over that role, coming into sight with a roar in its place. It was a massive humanoid creature, made entirely of solid rock. I could intuitively comprehend it was a living thing. As for whether it was made by someone or not, that much I couldn't tell. Alec, isn't this just what I needed right now? My cane had ended up somewhere far from me, and my wearied legs were practically like sticks. My scrawny body, which was practically skin and bones, didn't have the strength in it to let me run away. Plus, it's not like I had a will to live. I suddenly recalled something Flugel-kun had said. Mark my words, when people are in desperate situations, what truly kills them isn't violence, but despair. Then again, having said that, Flugel-kun himself was crushed by Reed's violence, with him only using his fingers, and that was despite him hearing the same thing too. That made him quickly take back what he'd said. Alec, memories of carefree days flashed across my mind. I unintentionally let out a laugh, despite the situation I was in. My cheeks had grown rather stiff, making it so I couldn't laugh properly. How long had it been since I'd last laughed? Our journey had been so full of laughter, we'll always be walking around laughing. Oh, Yeah, now I finally realize. Our journey was enjoyable, and having it end like this, that's something I, Alec, cannot accept. Those words I muttered came a bit late as I lifted my head up. The colossal lump of rock before me, I guess I should call him Rock Dude, lifted its huge arm up. I could clearly see what its goal was. It was going to crush the tiny living beings below. I had no way to dodge it, so I was going to get crushed, and that would be the end of me. I was helpless against anyone who wasn't open to conversation, and of course, I was helpless whenever my companions weren't there to help me. I truly felt that so many times during our travels, and that, I guess, was going to take my life. Indeed, that was the moment where I despised, from the very depths of my heart, this very reality. What are ate a ceek? A really loud voice rang out, and with it, a small shadow wedged itself between myself and Rock Dude. With how sudden it was, both me and Rock Dude stopped in our tracks. Or rather, it seemed more like the reason we stopped was different for each of us. For Rock Dude, it was because it was told to wait. For me, it was because I caught a glimpse of someone's back, someone I was unfamiliar with. I'd been separated from my companions in this barren land, left all alone. And here, before me, there was someone's back. Heaven calls, earth calls, man calls. This unexpected encounter has gotten me awfully surprised, but the most important thing is that it looks like I made it here in time. The figure turned to look back at me, as I stood there gawking, doing so with an exaggerated motion. Standing there was a small girl, but not an ordinary one. Some parts of her body were made up of bits that really couldn't be human, and she had a really sharp look to her. The girl assessed me from top to bottom, as I stood there petrified, before then giving me a nod, hands at her waist. The girl, 3 months ago, I sensed a great energy coming from the east. I've been searching around looking for the cause of what happened. So it was you. Just who the heck are you, Alec? The girl, got it. You're San. I'm Pantagruel. I was made as a human-type golem, who roamed this world, the one with 10,000 golems at my command. I could barely keep up with all this suddenness. And in front of me, the girl stiffened up with her strange-looking figure after having cleanly given her name. Her striking pose surprised me a bunch, but what surprised me even more was the fact Rock Dude, who'd been about to crush me before, was now assuming the same pose as her. I compared them by eye and recalled her earlier words. Alec, by Golem. Are you referring to the big Rock Dude behind you, Pantagruel? Yep. He's not the only golem, there's a heap more of them around. I may look fairly different in appearance, but I'm one of their fellow golems too. Alec, I see. Wait, no, I've got so much I want to ask, but, Pantagruel, go on. Though I wanted to shower her with questions, I shook my head instead, and then, I offered my hand out to the girl, Pantagruel, who had a mystified look on her face. Pantagruel, what's up with this? Alec, it's a token of friendship, a handshake. After all, it looks like I was really helped out by you. Though I was just thinking this to myself, it was meant out of self-interest. However, my mental state, which had been all over the place, grew calm instantly just by the fact I'd seen Pantagruel. Just how much have I been saved, having the circumstance now where I can talk to someone, where I have someone here with me. Pantagruel, a handshake. So this is a handshake. Whoa, this is the first time I've gotten one, San. Her eyes twinkling, Pantagruel grabbed my hand and hopped up and down. I let out a long sigh as I looked at this pleasantness. I'd almost prepared myself to throw everything away and die alone in this place with no one in it. But, Alec, I'm so glad I met you, Pantagruel. Also, is it okay if I mention just one thing? Pantagruel, of course. What's up, San? Alec, yeah, speaking of that, I'm sorry, but allow me to correct something. I tried to relax my tensed-up cheeks using my fingers, then gave an awkward smile as I continued to shake hands with Pantagruel, who wasn't letting go. Then, I finally gave my name to the peculiar girl, my peculiar friend, who'd taken away my loneliness while in this land. Alec, my name isn't it's Alec. Alec Hoshin, Pantagruel, Alec Hoshin. Alec, well, I'm more used to just being called Alec, I guess. That was the name my companions called me, as well as the name that I defined myself with. Having heard me, Pantagruel began to mutter Alec, Alec over and over again to herself, as if she were making sure. Unrelated, but behind Pantagruel, Rock Dude was mirroring her movements, so as he hopped up and down, I felt like my life was casually in danger. Putting aside for a moment my small concern, Pantagruel, very well, Alec-san. Now then, let's go together to my house. It's dangerous for you to be here alone, not to mention it's also lonely, Alec. Yeah, that's right. That's a huge help. I was lonely indeed, Pantagruel, MHM. Mr. Loner, got an invitation for one right here. Her expression was fairly questionable for a 40-plus-year-old geezer like myself. However, I accepted it with a smile, otherwise it would be downright uncouth to point that out. Pantagruel still hadn't let go of my hand, which was shaking hers, and it seemed like she was going to guide me to her house, or whatever, like that. I guess I'll let myself indulge in that feeling. Maybe if I go to her house, I'll be able to see others from this world. If that happens, then I can find some means to meet up with my companions again. Thus, to do that, Alec, I'm counting on you, Pantagruel. Pantagruel, MHM, all right, leave it to me, Alec-san. Pantagruel answered me with a beam. I smiled seeing that, and as I smiled, we set out walking. We set out with the colossal Rock Dude in tow. Pantagruel, Nico Neko Nyan Nyanyan Neko Nyan. Alec, what's with that song? Pantagruel, it's the Nekonyan-san person's theme song, the one who made me. Alec, Nekonyan. What a strange name. Pantagruel, huh? You reckon so? I think it's cool. I cocked my head in thought when she said the word cool. I couldn't pretend not to hear the echoes of the word theme song coming out of her mouth. Once before, Flugelkun too had said something similar. Alec, never mind. Having thought about it this far, I chided myself to put it off as overthinking things. She was singing it ever so happily. Guess it would all be so boorish of me. Alec, Neko Nyan. Ha! Pantagruel's eyes sparkled when she saw me copying her. I felt like her eyes had become my justification to say that it looked like everything was going well. However, after I was told that no one other than Pantagruel lived in the settlement we arrived at afterwards, and that there weren't any human beings in this world, my awful pessimism ended up rearing its head again. Yet that was a tale in which time was not enough to tell.